What's going on, everybody? Alright, this is now part 4 of the series I'm making on how to case mod your Xbox One console. Part 4, we're going to be dealing with the LED kit. Most of the time I just do this on the assembly part of the series for the other consoles I've done. But the Xbox One's a little bit different. For those of you familiar, there is a top piece to this. And then this plugs in and your speaker plugs in. And that makes it a little bit different. So there's actually 2 different ways you can install this. Now, we do sell these pre-made kits. And it's going to have a pre-made case like that with the window. And it's also going to, depending on which kit you get, it's also going to include one of these. Without the speakers or anything, you'll have to replace all that with the ones you got in your console. But essentially, the point is that this is going to be, the method 1 is going to be where this is drilled open, and that way you can actually take the LED kit and wire it through, because right here, I mean, there'd be nowhere to run any of the LED kit stuff through here into the disk drive, which is what it does, is it replaces the disk drive cable, which is hacked to have the LED kit. So that's the first option, and where you can drill a hole in it. Now that part's going to be pretty self-explanatory. The wire that's being replaced is right here for the LED kit, so you could drill a hole basically just about wherever you want. You wouldn't want to do it over here, and if you're, obviously since you're keeping this, you wouldn't want to drill it around here. You'd also want to keep it away from where this attaches, the antenna attaches. So really, generally, anywhere right here would be a good place to do it. You can also, in addition to buying the kit, you can also drill a hole in there yourself. It will need a pretty decent sized hole, and so you will need a drill. Obviously, got one right here, and then you'll need drill bits, and you'll need a set that's got a decent sized drill bit. We got this one right here. It's got several decent sizes. Let's see. Get this out. You'll need one, I'd say, because essentially you need to be able to get that through the hole, or get this through the hole. So it needs to be about about half an inch. You could probably get away with a 3164, a 1532nd. 7/16 would probably be your smallest one that you can use. I would not go any smaller than that, because you're going to be trying to cram stuff that you shouldn't be trying to cram, and you could end up damaging the LED kit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our drill ready. We're going to plug it in. Now remember, there is a second method, and that's going to come later. So if you don't want to do this method, you don't have to. The second method is definitely more advanced. I wouldn't say more advanced. I mean, just about anybody could do it, but it's going to be more difficult, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm going to try it with 7/16 here is what I'm putting in. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to get it over to the side as far as I can. But you want to make sure, again, that you're not drilling into anything. And you also want to note where your disk drive is, because if it's right in the middle of the disk drive, that's going to be a pain in the butt to wire that up and then through. So I'm going to put mine, there's 2 little holes here, which are usually going to have case screws in it. One's for the hard drive, one's for the disk drive. I'm actually drill that hole right here in the middle. Now, luckily, the material, I mean, it's metal, but it's more like a tin sort of thing. It's not anything crazy. So we're just going to drill a hole. Don't push too hard, especially if your motherboard is still in there. God help you if you drill a hole in your motherboard. Oops, I picked up on it too early, didn't I? It's alright though. Alright, so we got the hole in there. Might be a few shavings, go ahead and blow those out. In fact, let me use my air compressor here. And then our hole is going to be about right here. A good way to test is stick your LED kit through here, and as you can see, that works just fine. Not going to be the prettiest. As you can see, it's a little bit jagged. You can smooth it up if you want, but again, this is going to be far enough over that it's not even going to be that noticeable. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take this old one out, and then we're going to replace it with this one. Now, this is attached to where this will come out this way, which means this is the bottom. You want to make sure and get the right bottom, because if you get it flipped around like this, it's going to reverse the polarity and it's not going to work. So if you do plug this in and it just doesn't work at all, doesn't light up, it means you probably got that in backwards. Now I'm just plugging that in on that side. Alright, now I'm going to take the piece we just drilled, and I'm just sticking the LED kit through there like so. Want to be gentle with it, you know. If you rip it through there, you might snag the shrink I've put on them, and then you could essentially, if nothing else, you'll expose the wires, and that's not good, especially considering that it'll be touching this. Okay, so you just pull it out as much as you've got there. Don't want to do it too tight. I'm giving you plenty of room, and with these LED kits I wire them a little bit different. The first lead here is a little bit shorter, and then the second one that leads to the second strip of LEDs is longer, so you'll have more options. And you can also, you know, adjust it. Now, if it's going with this kit, we've given enough room so you can attach them. Essentially, you could do it like this. Let me get a little bit less. You could attach it just like this around here. That's a pretty good place, and that's going to shine inwards because these are directional LEDs I use for these strips. So if you have it pointing inwards, it's going to give off a lot better light. And then this one on this side. Now I'm not going to attach it because I told you there's a second method, so I don't want to attach it and then have to take it all apart. So you could do something like this over here. You could lay it flat if you wanted. You could attach it around. You could even attempt to attach it to the bottom of the case. That's fine too. And then you would just take the wire and kind of feed it a little bit to keep it out of the way. You know, however you want to do it. I'll show you that in depth after I show you the second method. So that's pretty much it for the LED kit part, and it's pretty simple with the way I build these, and I build them specifically for the Xbox One and the way it's designed, so it'll work a little bit easier. You can even do them back and front like this. As you can see, I've got more than enough cable there to do that. Whatever you feel like doing. So we're going to take this back off now, though. Now the second method is, a lot of people do this with these big open windows because they want to see the guts. They want to see the inner workings. And that is possible, but I'm going to have to show you how to do it. First off, we've got these little stands. There's this stand, and there's one right here, and then there's a white one back here. And and you've actually got to attach the screws like normal. So we're going to get your case screws. Well, this one's loose. Let me get that one in there. So get your case. Go ahead and, if you're going to do the second method, go ahead and start with 3 case screws. We're going to put one right here, one right here, one right here, and you'll be able to just screw those back in. Okay. That's going to help keep the bottom case piece, and that is nothing. You have to have your bottom case, the actual outer case, on it, because these screw into that. It can't just be the motherboard shell by itself. So we're taking those and we're screwing them in. That's going to attach the case, stabilize, keep the motherboard stabilized without having to have that top shell piece on it. Now, you have a couple of other places you can attach some case screws. You can, and I definitely recommend putting these 2 back here. It's going to help stabilize. Now, the other thing about it is this is figured to have this sheet of metal in between it. So, essentially, it would be helpful if you had some metal washers. Let's see if I've got a couple of plain metal washers. Yeah, hold on. In case you're not sure what I'm talking about here, some little metal washers like this, and you can actually put those on the screw before you put it in, and that will make up the difference of the outer case being missing, and that way you can still get it pretty tight. You'll probably have to play with it. You know, there's a million different thicknesses and all kinds of stuff. So let me go ahead and screw this in and show you. With those, and you don't want to over tighten them. It's going to be easy to over tighten them just using the washers, so be careful. And then you can go around and do that to each one if you want as well, and that's going to help. Because see, let me show you. Well, you probably won't be able to see. That one works, but I think a couple of these, if I'm not mistaken, cannot go all the way down. So like that one gets pretty hard, but it did go all the way down. That's surprising, actually. But by the time it gets right there to the bottom, you can tell you're kind of forcing it to screw in, and that's not necessarily good for it. So it's still good to have those. Yeah, see right there at the end, it gets real tight, and that's not good with plastic. But you get the idea. I would still definitely consider putting a washer. You can get black washers too, and just put like one in there, and it'll still match, and you still won't even hardly be able to notice it's there. Now is the second part. Without this, you've got a problem. You've got the speaker, and you got your Wi-Fi board, which is, you know, stuff you're going to have to transfer, but even more so is going to be this antenna. And the antenna is going to be a big problem because of the fact that it's attached, it's a weak antenna, and it's a weak Wi-Fi board. They didn't put a very good one in. And if you've noticed, you probably can get better distance with an Xbox 360 controller as far as being far away from your console. You get better distance from that than you can Xbox One, and it's because it's got a weak Wi-Fi board. So that's how your controller connects. And the antenna is actually attached to this, which essentially makes all of this part of the antenna too. It turns the whole top piece into an antenna. So you're going to have to kind of rig this up a little bit differently. Now the speaker's a little bit easier. I mean, you could basically do whatever you want. You could even let's say, we'll go ahead and plug it in. This was probably off camera, this part, but I'm plugging in the speaker and the RF board. You could essentially do whatever you want. You could even just attach it. You could, there's a little place right here, and you could actually just drill a tiny hole in there, and then drill another tiny hole in your case, and then maybe attach it right here at the front. I would not attach it to the disk drive or anything. The cord's not going to reach here. You could even just simply wrap the cable around, get rid of some of it, and just put it down in there. I mean, I don't recommend that, but if you don't have much of a choice, you can do it that way. Now the next thing is the antenna, which is the big issue. In fact, let me go get an extra antenna. 1 second. So on this one, this is an extra one. What you can do is where the antenna is attached, there's these little clip things. You can kind of squeeze them a little bit as you're pulling from this side. You squeeze them from the back on this side and it will come out. So that's what we're going to do first. And now you've got your loose antenna. Now you have to decide what you want to do with it. You could, I'm going to attach it up here at the front. I wanted to get this close enough, but you also can't see the very front of the console, I don't think. So you could just do it like this and essentially just run it through here. Again, I really wouldn't. Another option is the heatsink itself is not used as a ground or anything. So to get yourself a little extra signal, you could go in there and kind of wrap those little prongs around part of the heatsink and attach it to there to give it a little bit of a signal boost. You definitely have a lot of options. This is an area where I can't really tell you what to do. I can just kind of show you, and then you have to get creative with it. Because there's just so many different ways, and it's kind of open-ended. And then, of course, you would attach it back to here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and remove this. First, remove this. Oh, this is actually an old one, and I'm going to remove that screw. If I wasn't losing all my tools today, let's see. Yeah, wow, I literally have lost just about every tool I own today. Alright. Well, oh, there it is. I'm throwing everything around today, I guess. So we're taking this screw out. Setting it aside, and there's usually another one, but this one I only had the one in. So usually I think there's a second screw that you'll have to remove. Okay, now you're just going to lightly start to wiggle this thing a little bit because it is attached to this underneath, this little thing underneath, and you have to keep that too because that's the only way you're going to get it to attach. There we go. Now we've got that out. Set that over here, and then there's 3 screws here. We're going to remove those. Alright, and there is that. So, got this little guy. Now, obviously, since it's detached, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug it back in here, and then you can go ahead and attach these screws, and I absolutely would, the ones that are actually attaching the Wi-Fi board to it, because this you have to connect it this way, unfortunately. This little thing. Now, that's the other thing I could tell you is you could try to remove this. You'd have to tear this thing apart, kinda, but you can take this plug out. It's got 2 little clips you can pull here, but you'd have to break apart the rest of it because it doesn't have enough room. So if you want to do that, so it's just the plug, you can absolutely do that. I'm just going to show it to you this way because it's easier, and then we'll take it and plug this little thing back in like so. And we'll go ahead and attach the antenna. Now, this thing looks confusing. Some of them look different, but it looks like these 2 these two little things are connectors too, and they are, but they're not the same. So this one, on this particular Wi-Fi board, those two are gold, and the one you want to use is white. But just a good rule of thumb, it's the one that's kind of over here by itself. Alright, now, you can essentially do what you want to with this. You can attach it. Oops, got that wrapped up in there. Well, hold on, this thing needs to go underneath the LED kit. Okay, there we go. You can attach it if you want. I've even seen some people kind of glue this to it. Totally up to you. It would be harder to take your hard drive out later, but again, totally up to you. If you decide to actually pull this cord out of here, you have a few extra options. And then, like I said, you can actually get this to touch the heatsink. It will not affect it because it does not pull any energy. So you could even turn this around like this. And then attach these little clips for the antenna inside of there. And then that at least will give you a little bit of signal boost. But just remember that you will lose a little bit of your signal strength. It shouldn't be a huge amount, but it will be something. And it all depends on where you attach it. Another option here is to go this way and extend this. Essentially what I mean is if you've got some sort of wire, this is the same wire I used to make the LED kits, you could splice the wires, and you would only need one side of this, so it's red and black, maybe just use the one black. You could attach it to this right here, where it connected to the old case, and then string that out here to the outer case right out here, and then attach it inside of one of these holes. That'll give you some extra signal strength. It's really just about how committed you are to getting as much signal as you can out of this thing. Again, now this is a lot of extra work, but it's all about what you want to do, and it's all about what you want to see. If you've cut out a case that has like a special design, I would honestly recommend leaving this on, because if you leave this on and just drill the hole, this metal will reflect the light and make it even brighter. And so say you cut out your favorite video game character, that's going to reflect the light, and it's going to reflect through the window, and the design is going to be that much brighter and that much better. So yeah, this is really only if you've got a big open window and you just really want to see the insides of the console. So with that, if you're using this method, you can attach the LED kit basically anywhere. And I'm not doing that, so that's why that's not the method I'm going to use for this particular console, so I'm not going to do it. But you could attach it back here pretty easy. Even right here, you could attach it, like we talked about before, to the underneath sides of the case. But because these are directional LEDs, it's going to be better to always, if you can, attach them to a wall or something. That's better, because it's going to point them inwards, and it's going to shine on the inside parts, so you can actually see them a little bit better. Anyways, that's all for that part. But I am going to show you officially how to attach it going the other way, because that's going to be our kits and the way we sell them. So I'm going to come back and then actually reattach all this stuff back to here. But I did want to take the time and show you guys that there is a way to do it like this. That's not the way we're going to be doing it, and it's hard to sell kits where you're going to have to do all this stuff to people, and make them do all this stuff. So I'll be back in just a second and we'll install it the way our kits are going to be set up. Alright guys, so now that I've got everything reinstalled and put back on the original, this is the way we're actually going to show you how to do it. So you can work with our kits and everything, but I didn't want to leave the people out that didn't want to do it this way. So I've got the one with the hole in it, and again, this is what you would get if you buy the custom case we sell on our website. It will include this with the hole drilled, and we've got our LEDs running through it. And essentially, we're going to figure out how we want to attach these. We can attach them right here if we want. Like I said, these are directional, so putting them this way will shine in the inside the console more. We could just do it like this, where there's one here and one up here, and then it's cool because you could just feed that in there however much you'd like to get that to work. So I think for this case, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to attach them simply to this, because this is actually going to be going for a different case altogether. But anyways, as I said earlier, you could attach it right here to the side of this fan thing. It won't hurt it any. Wouldn't be a big deal, and it would shine inwards. In fact, you know what? I changed my mind. That is what I want to do. I'm not going to tell you can do something and then not do it. So we peeled that sticky back off. I completely failed to mention that while I was doing it, didn't I? And essentially we're just doing it like this. And see, this way the LEDs will be completely hidden, because that window we've got and we did in step 1, or in the kit you would receive, this will be completely hidden away. You won't even know there's LEDs in here. Now, the other thing about it is, though, is you want to get it flat enough, because this is supposed to butt up right against the console. So you don't want to have it like up here, because that'll block out the airflow. I'm just going to do it like that for now. Alright, now we're going to attach this second one. Make sure that's on camera. Yeah, it is. Okay. Just going to peel the backer off again. Super simple. And I'm going to try to get it kind of centered as we can here, so it'll be uniform. And then right here we got some extra wire. You can do that however you want to do it. You can squinch it up like this and then tie it. And that one's coming up. I need to stick it better instead of just sitting it down. And these do have silicone covers on them, so don't be afraid to push too hard. You're not going to injure any of it. So that's what I think I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to cinch this up right here at the front. And I'm going to do it in a way where it's still kind of flat. So it's not like this, for instance. It's kind of flat. And I mean, you can do whatever you want. I've got these little just cable ties. These little black cable ties. And they work really well for doing stuff like this. You could use just a like a twist tie even if you wanted, because you don't want this to be popping out and looking all strange. So we're just going to get it started, kind of get it right here in the middle, make sure we're nice and tight, and it's going to use up all the cable. If it's still kind of loose, you can move it like this and pull it. There, and that way it's going to keep some of that out of there, and then we can just cut the extra little piece off right here. And then that's pretty much it right there. That's how it's installed. The last part, we'll just go through getting the case on there and everything, and the final assembly. And that's it for part 4. So definitely check the links down in the description for some of the kit stuff if that's what you guys are interested in. And definitely come back for part 5, which is going to be kind of a simple part. We're just going to be putting in our custom power button board and putting the case on top of it. And that's pretty much it. So we'll see you for part 5, guys.